Assalamu alaikum dear friends, welcome back to top lesson for you. Friends, you know that we are discussing about the epithelial and tissue. We had started our lecture regarding the tissues. First lecture there was the introduction of the tissues, right, which included that our body is composed of four types of tissues: the epithelial tissue, the connective tissue, the muscular tissue, right, and then there was the nervous tissue, right. So this was our introductory lecture. I had just introduced these tissues in the first lecture. Then the lecture after that was about the epithelial tissue, right, in which I have discussed about what is epithelial tissue, what is the classification of epithelial tissue, right, and what are the locations of epithelial tissue. I have already discussed. So we have discussed about epithelial tissue, its introduction, right, in first lecture we have discussed. Then we have discussed classification, right. If you haven't watched these lectures, please watch it. The classification of epithelial tissue. Then we have discussed about the locations of epithelial tissue in our body. Now in this lecture I am going to discuss about the basal side of the epithelial tissue. As I had told you that every epithelial tissue in our body, for example, if this is an epithelial cell, right, this is a very simplified epithelial cell. Now this cell must be resting on a special membrane. This membrane is called basal lamina, right, or basement membrane. Other than that, I had told you that, my dear friends, I have some examples here. For example, these two are the epithelial cells. For example, look, these epithelial cells, first of all we should know that in epithelial tissue the cells are very closely packed to each other. Every box shows a cell, and look here in the definition I had told you that epithelial tissue in our body is a type of tissue which contains the cells which are closely packed to each other, which have no or a very little intracellular spaces. So this type of tissue in our body is called the epithelial tissue, right. Now look, every epithelial tissue, in every epithelial tissue the cells have three sides. The cells have three sides. And what are those? First of all, if you look here, if this is the epithelial tissue, this is the upper surface, right, this is the lower surface, and these are the lateral surfaces. These are the lateral surfaces. Why lateral surfaces? Because if you put these cells like this together, right, so these cells have relations with these cells, right. So these are the lateral sides of these cells and they have relations, and we will show these relations, what are the structures which hold them together, right. Then we know that below the epithelial tissue there is always a membrane which is called the basement membrane, right. You just consider that this book is showing that membrane. So the epithelial tissue is resting above a special membrane, and that is called the basement membrane, right. And this basal side, right, this lower or basal side of the tissue of this epithelial tissue has relations with this basement membrane, right. So right now in this lecture I am going to discuss about this basement membrane or basal lamina, right. This is secreted by this epithelia. We know that this basement membrane is a special protein network which is secreted by this epithelial cell itself, right. So let us discuss this. Then I had told you that that every epithelial tissue, in every epithelial tissue, epithelial cells, right, have different surfaces: the upper surface, the lower surface, and the lateral surfaces. If you put, look at here, these are the lateral surfaces of these cells, lateral surfaces, right. So you know that this lateral surface and this lateral surface are close to each other. So what are the structures which hold these lateral surfaces firmly together? right? We will discuss the features in the lateral surface, we will discuss the features in the upper surface. As you know that in certain areas of the body in epithelia, there are special type of features in the upper surface that are villi, microvilli, stereocilia, cilia, we have them. So we will discuss the structures in the upper surface, then in the lower surface right now we will discuss, and then in the lateral surface is what are the structures. So if you put other epithelial cells also together with them, there will be the lateral surfaces and they will be in relation with each other, and if you put these cells behind them, so again there will be lateral surfaces and they will have relations with each other, right? So let us, my dear friends, discuss about all these features. So let us go in a big detail for this basement membrane, right? So I am going to discuss about the basal side or basal surface of epithelial tissue or epithelia, right? So in the base, I mean to say, let me erase this and I will make here 2 or 3 cells, right? And then I will discuss about the structures which are present in the base of the epithelial tissue, right? So for example, my dear friends, these are the epithelial cells, right? The cuboidal epithelial cells, we have already discussed about the shapes, classification of the epithelial tissue according to the shape I have already discussed for you guys, right? So here we have another one, right? Just consider that these are the cells, the epithelial cells like this, right? And we will see what are the structures in the basal side of these cells. Okay, so this is one epithelial cell, this is the nucleus. We make the nucleus with a separate color. This is the nucleus, this is the nucleus, and again this is the nucleus. Okay friends, these are the 3 epithelial cells in our example, right? Now what is the structure here below it, right? You know, here were the lateral surfaces, right? If you keep them like this, look, this is one cell, this is other cell, and these are the lateral surfaces, right? Lateral, we will discuss it later. This is the upper surface, right? And then this is the basal part or the basal surface. So what is in the basal side of this epithelial tissue? Let us go for it. So I mean to say that we are going to discuss about the basal lamina or basement membrane, right? So I am writing here, I am discussing about the basal lamina, or we call it basement membrane. Right friends, let us discuss about the structure and composition of basement membrane. Okay, first of all, there is a layer which is called, first of all, there is a layer, actually this basement membrane is divided into 3 layers. I would like to tell you guys that this basement membrane is actually divided into 3 layers, right? The first layer is called the lamina lucida, right? There is the lamina lucida. Lamina lucida, and we will see what is in the lamina lucida, right? Then there is the second one that is called the lamina densa. Lamina densa, right? Which is dense, which contains lots of fibers. And then there is the reticular lamina. Reticular lamina or lamina reticularis. We call it lamina reticularis also. So we want to clear our concept about the basement membrane, And we know that this basement membrane which is present below the epithelia, this basement membrane is composed of three sublayers, right? The lamina lucida, which is close to the epithelia, right? So let me make it here. The first layer is called the lamina lucida. So I am dividing it for clear understanding. Okay friends, like this, right? So this first layer is called the lamina lucida, and in this lamina lucida what is present? What is the composition of this lamina lucida? Right. First, we know that it is composed of proteins and carbohydrates and everything, right? So what are those structures what are those fibers which are present here? So the first group of fibers which are formed in the lamina lucida are called the integrins, right? I am making it so simple for clear understanding, right? So these are the proteins which are called integrins, right? So in lamina lucida, the proteins and other structures found, the first group are called the integrins, right? These are the integrin molecules or fibers which are present there in the lamina lucida, right? So the first one are called the integrins. Right? Then the second substance which is present in this lamina lucida is called the laminin proteins, right? So we will show them for clear understanding, we will show them like this, right? So these are the laminin proteins which are found in the lamina lucida, right? I am writing the composition of this basement membrane, right friends? So this was the second one structure which is called the laminin protein, right? So laminin is found there in the lamina lucida, right? Then there is another type of protein which is called the intactin, right? Which is called the intactin proteins. These are found in the lamina lucida. So we are making the diagram very simple for our clear understanding. So these are called the intactin proteins, right? In the lamina lucida, these are your intactin proteins. So very simple diagram we want to show and clear our concept about the basal lamina or basement membrane. So in the first layer that I am making right now, this first layer is composed of these group of proteins, right? And these are I've shown here, right? So this third protein which is found in the lamina lucida, this is called the intactin protein, right? Intactins, right? So these three components, these three important components, the integrins, the laminins and the intactins unite together and they make the lamina lucida. So let's write it here also, that lamina lucida contains what? It contains three important components, and these are called the integrins, right? These are called the laminins, and these are called the intactins, right? They make the structure of the lamina lucida. Very simple, right? Then there is the second layer below the lamina lucida. There is, you know that there is the second layer, and this layer is called the lamina densa. Lamina densa. And why it is called lamina densa? Because it is a little bit denser than the first layer. That's why we call it lamina densa, right? And in this lamina densa, what is found there? Now we will see what is present in the lamina densa. Lamina densa also contains proteins and certain molecules, polysaccharides and everything, right? So in the lamina densa, what is found there? Lamina densa is composed of big fibers which are called the collagen fibers. These are found there. These are called the certain thick proteins are present in our body. So I am just making this diagram simple for our clear understanding. These are the collagen type 4 molecules, right? Collagen type 4 proteins they are. Right friends, so these are the collagen type 4. Okay, so in the lamina densa, right, there is collagen type 4. Collagen type 4 is present. Look, collagen, they are thick fibers of the connective tissue, right? So these are the collagen type 4 is found there, right? And the next thing which is present in the lamina densa, what is that? That is the fibronectin proteins, right? We will make it very simplified like this. So these are the fibronectin proteins found in the lamina densa, right? You can see that this lamina is little bit denser than the first layer or the first lamina, so that's why we call it lamina densa, right? So this lamina densa is composed of what we are going to write. So the collagen fibers type 4 is present there. Then this is the fibronectin protein. Fibronectin protein is there, right? In the lamina densa, there is the fibronectin protein. Very much fibronectin is found, and collagen type 4 is present in the lamina densa, right friends? So these are the two layers that we just discussed, the lamina densa and lamina lucida. So let's write here, the lamina densa is composed of collagen type 4, right? And we know that this is fibronectin, right friends? Okay, now you can see how many substances, what are the substances which are present in the basement membrane or basal lamina, right? You can see there. Okay, then there is the third layer, right, which is present there below the basal lamina densa, below the lamina densa, right? So this is our third layer which is present in the basal lamina or basement membrane, right? This layer contains lots of proteins and lots of different substances also, right? So let's go for the detail of this layer. This layer contains, right, collagen type 3, right? There are collagen fibers. Collagen type 3 is present there, right? I'm making a simplified diagram for our clear understanding. Please friends, don't mind it. There is the collagen type 3 present there. Right. So in the which one? Lamina reticularis. What is found there? Number 1, there is collagen type 3. Done. Then there is another type of collagen also present there, which is called collagen type 1, right? So collagen type 1 is also found in the reticular lamina. So I am putting it in a very simplified way just to make our concept clear, about the composition of the basement membrane, right? So there is the collagen type 1. Collagen type 1 is also present there. right? Then another protein is also present there, fibers are also present there, which are called the reticular fibers, right? So some reticular fibers, let us make here some reticular fibers are also found there in the lamina reticularis. Why it is called reticularis? Because it contains reticular fibers, right? Okay, so these are some reticular fibers, right? So let us write their name. This is the reticular fibers, right? Now the last thing which remains in this layer, right, in the lamina reticularis, is a very another type of we can say collagen, which is called the collagen type 7 is also present there. So let me make it like this, right? So this is our collagen type 7 for our understanding, just to know about the composition of the lamina reticularis. This is the collagen type 7 is found there, right, like this. So what is there? There is collagen type 7, right? So in the lamina reticularis, what is its composition? There is collagen type 7, there are reticular fibers, there are collagen type 1 and collagen type 3, right? So these fibers, these protein fibers make this lamina reticularis, right? Lamina reticularis, right? And what is this lamina? This lamina is called the lamina densa, this one, lamina densa, right? And this one is called the lamina lucida, lamina lucida, right? So how many layers of the basement membrane is there? There are 3 layers of the basement membrane. What are those? There is lamina lucida, which is composed of integrin proteins and laminin proteins mostly. Then there is the lamina densa, which is composed of which kind of collagen type 4, right? And then there are the fibronectin is present there, right? Fibronectin fibers are found in the lamina densa, right? Then there is the third layer, which is called the lamina reticularis, and this lamina reticularis composed of collagen type 3, collagen type 1 and reticular fibers and collagen type 7, right? Now everywhere where there is a basement membrane or basal lamina, these components will be found in the basal lamina, right? So all the epithelial tissues in our body, right, are resting upon such structure, right? So this is called the lamina basal lamina or basement membrane. So we just discussed about the composition and structure of the basement membrane below the epithelial tissue, right? So I hope you enjoyed the lecture, friends. This was about its composition. Now in the next lecture we will go and discuss about the features which are present in the upper surface of the epithelial tissue. So see you guys in that lecture.